In Diablo 2, magic finding is one of the main ways to continue strengthening your characters outside of leveling up. That said, there are a lot of things that people get wrong when trying to optimize finding their new gear. So today, we're going to cover my 5 personal tricks to successful magic finding in Diablo 2. If you have any tips of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and maybe others will find them useful as well. As far as my list, let's get into it. Number 1. A common question among people new to magic finding is how much magic find do I need? Generally speaking, the recommendations here vary depending on who you ask, but the bare minimums often mentioned are in the 200 to 500 range. Personally, I recommend about 250, but all these recommendations stem from the same base information, and that is that magic find has diminishing returns for uniques, sets, and rares. The chart you see on screen right now is the actual curve for this effect, but the general consensus is going to be reach for your base, then only add to the magic find percent if it will not impact your clear speed. If it helps you decide your target percentages a bit, the key numbers you're looking for are, well, basically that you double your unique find at 167%, and you don't triple it again until 1000%. With set items, they double at 125%, triple at 334%, and quadruple at 750%. The reason I choose 250% is because it's a reasonable amount to get with okay equipment on almost every class and build type, since it's easily gotten with only a few equipment slots and a handful of magic find charms, meaning you will still have plenty of slots that you can dedicate to kill speed and survival. In fact, as your gear pool increases, you'll find it's almost naturally ending up around 250% with just the stuff you find laying around with your, well, stronger gear. And you'll also find that you end up with more spare slots to maintain the same amount of power. Number 2, where to magic find is another frequently asked question, and most of the guides you'll come across scream out about level 85 areas. There's in fact a whole list of them, and I'll probably even get around to ranking them myself, but in the end these areas are just part of the picture. Level 85 areas are mostly loved because they can drop almost every item in the game, outside of some odd things such as certain charm affixes that pretty much require something like Baal to drop them. This is mainly only a concern if you're going for something like Holy Grail challenges that require collecting these obscure items, of which only a handful are actually worth your time. The reality is you should balance your killing speed with the items you're looking for. Are you wanting Titan's Revenge? Nightmare Mephisto will serve you better than Hell Mephisto. Stone of Jordan? Again, Nightmare to the rescue, but with Andariel this time. What about Rainbow Facets? Then you might want to consider Hell Council, or even Chaos Sanctuary, because they're both really good for junk drops and rune drops. Though with all of that said, these are just, well, the general hunts. A lot of them are even boss hunts. If you want actually a good chance of getting runes with the rest of your drops, you're better off choosing an area with a lot of enemies. If you want uniques with it, maybe do enemies with a lead up to a boss, or with a lot of uniques or champions in it. If you're looking for runes with it, you should also consider that finger mages, wraiths, or wisps actually have higher jewel, rune, gem, etc. drops. They even have higher potion drops. And honestly, this is one reason why I actually love Chaos Sanctuary and Hell so much, because it meets all these criteria, and usually I'm the kind of rune hunter, because I like my rune words. So as you can tell from all of this, the answer in the end is a big, it depends. With a lot of amazing gear and the exceptional item types, Late Nightmare through Early Hell can give a lot of useful items as long as you find an area you can clear quickly with a decent amount of magic find. Even better if it has a few uniques or champions in it. With the need to move to higher level areas really only necessary if you want stuff like Rainbow Facets, high runes, and the more esoteric uniques and elite set items, and even those don't usually require level 85 areas. There's a lot of really good stuff that can drop an 81 or below. In fact, every rune can. So do consider what you're looking for before jumping into it. There are a lot of tools out there like Silas Ben and stuff like that that can give you a rough idea of where you might want to be hunting. Just don't get kind of concentrated on the boss drop numbers, because does it take you longer to kill 1,000 Mephistos or 10,000 finger mages? That's something you're going to have to decide. Number 3. A lot of people new to Magic Find make the mistake of farming on Players 8, and Players 8 alone, for something other than challenge, which frankly Players 8 is only for the challenge. They do it thinking they'll increase their drop odds significantly, when in reality all it does is make the game harder on them for no reason. The reality is it depends on what you're farming as a target, and also requires taking into account the enemy no-drop rates, as well as your kill speed on a given player count, because it's better to kill 100 enemies with half of them dropping items in a given amount of time than it is to only kill 50 enemies with 3/4 of them dropping items in the same amount of time. As far as what the magic numbers are, a good rule of thumb that does have a few exceptions but will generally get you on the right path is players 1 for unique or champion pack farming, such as in those level 85 areas we mentioned before, players 3 for act boss farming, such as Mephisto and Dariel, Bale, Duriel if you really have to, players 5 or 7 for everything else depending on your kill speed. There are exceptions to this, such as enemies with special drop rules like, say, the Countess. The ultimate goal, though, is to be going for the highest amount of drops in the shortest amount of time, so that your magic find has more items to roll on. It is worth noting that, yes, the odd number player counts for single player are the magic numbers. In multiplayer, this changes a bit because there are proximity and party factors on the drop rates as well, so you will find it slightly different there. Number 4. Another common mistake people make while magic finding is leaving awesome items behind because they're not unique or set items. This is why I constantly repeat the sentiment, don't forget the rares. But this also applies to useful white and gray items for runewords, magic items for crafted types, or even like magic-only affixes, which are a thing. And rare items that can be as good or better than many uniques, sometimes with triple durability on top of that, especially when dealing with class-specific items. Also, by paying more attention to these drops, you'll have a much better understanding of what's actually dropping, since, as you can see by the graph on screen, it's of a series of Andariel runs, of course. The amount of times you roll unique or set may be a lot higher than you were originally anticipating. You see the differences in those lines, of course, right? And it is pretty easy to tell many of the items that are failed uniques because they roll as triple durability rares, and failed set items are your double durability magic items. Obviously, you can't do this with bows or charms or anything like that, but regular equipment, you do get an idea of how much you are just really rolling good just on the wrong base item. This really is helpful for keeping it in your head that it's not your magic find percentage that is making your runs turn up less sets and uniques, but rather just the random item types that happen to be selected, which really is RNG. And there is not much you can do about it besides shifting where you're farming, and even then the change is minor at best. Number 5, and probably the most important one, is for God's sake, have fun with it. Doing the same run over and over and over can be cathartic at times, but sometimes you just need to take a break and run that weird build and farm a weaker area or a more entertaining spot. Or take an overpowered build with a bit less magic find in and stomp the enemy that's been annoying you. You'll still find items while just playing the game for fun. It will be slower, but in the end, you're still building your resources, even if it's just some gems and random crafting jewels, or some mid-level uniques and set items that you could use to make a build that you haven't tried viable. In the end, remember, it's just a game and you're supposed to be having at least some amount of enjoyment, if not fun, out of it. And it's fine to not be treating it like a job to get the items you want. Especially if you're having a streak of bad luck. Go have fun. Get your mind off of it. Even if you're just having a day of dry drops or bad enemy modifiers. No matter what anyone else's opinion is, it's up to you how you consume the game as long as it's not impacting anyone else's experiences. It may seem otherwise, but most people who have completed Holy Grails took breaks to just enjoy the game, and many found some of their key items while doing so, especially exploring random dungeons that they usually don't go into. And that is my last real big tip on doing Magic Find in Diablo 2. If you found anything useful in here, be sure to give this a like, subscribe for more Diablo 2 content, and, well, leave your comments down below if I missed any of your favorite tips or tricks. I tried to cover the high points, and there will be a more detailed, individual Magic Find guide, but for now, I just wanted to get people started on that role of Magic Find doesn't have to be quite as monotonous as a lot of these 1,000 run or all level 85 guides make it to believe. So keep gaming, have fun, and peace out. This has been Alzorath, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.